down and the virtual, mostly virtual Arbor Day celebration. In 1872, J. Sterling Morton, who was a newspaperman in the state of Nebraska, decided that we should have a day of planting trees and honoring the earth. Mr. Morton was perhaps ahead of his time. I like to think if he were with us today, he would very definitely be all in with the Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance. He lectured frequently on environmental stewardship and on the interconnectedness of life. 148 years ago, on that first Arbor Day in 1872, over 1 million trees were planted in the state of Nebraska. So I would like to kick us off this morning first by thanking at least some of the many people who made this possible for us. I sat down in January with Ron Corbin, city manager for the city of Cottonwood, and pitched our idea, and Ron was all in right away. Yep, let's do that. We got to do that. Hezekiah Allen has been my partner, my city partner through all of this, through the planning and the modifications and the adjustments and the changes that we had to make along the way to accommodate these special and unexpected times in which we find ourselves. David Houseman for the city made sure that we had holes for our trees that we wanted to plant. Jim Prenevos for the county, since a couple of our trees are on county land here. And Kitty Perry was very instrumental as well. I started out with Marianne Jimenez, our city clerk, and Marianne was with us from the very beginning and was an excellent partner. And when we asked our mayor, Tim Alinsky, if he would join us, he was all in right away as well. And we're very, very fortunate to have Mayor Alinsky here with us this morning. And he has an Arbor Day proclamation.
Good morning, everybody. How are you?
Good. Master ready.
I want to just take a second to recognize another elected official that we have with us here this morning is Supervisor Randy Garrison. Thanks for being here, sir. And of course, we had to keep the numbers down so we couldn't invite the rest of the council or other supervisors or elected officials in the area to join us today. But hopefully they're joining us via Facebook.
Live stream on
Live stream on Facebook. Good deal. I'm still getting used to all this. So. This is a beautiful day. They don't make days any better than this. I want to thank Ms. Lane and the Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance for putting this celebration together. Arbor Day is very special for me, and I'll tell you why. My wife is from Indiana. You can't hold that against her. She's from the beautiful part of the state, south central Indiana, from Brown County. And I recall the first time I went out to visit her family out there and meet my now father-in-law, whose name is Eugene. He bought a 40-acre farm. It wasn't a farm, it was a junkyard when he bought it about 50 or so years ago. And he worked a full-time job, so 40 hours a week, but in his off hours he would clean out the junkyard, haul off the scrap cars that were there, and just clean the property up. And what he did, starting about 50 or so years ago, was he planted trees. 3,000 trees a year he planted. And slowly over the course of decades, transformed that farm into what I saw when I first went out to visit, which was an absolutely beautiful, hilly, forested acreage, 40 acres of hardwood trees. And I'm the builder by trade, and seeing all that wonderful hardwood, hickory and beech, birch and alder was mind-blowing to think that he had planted all and created a really wonderful, not just a beautiful environment for his kids and grandkids, but also a way for his kids and grandkids to have a little bit of income from the sale of the trees. So every decade or so they could harvest those trees. He did become a certified tree farm, and so he worked with the Ag Extension Office to come out and select and harvest those trees. And so it really became quite a nice little gift that he gave to his kids and grandkids. And I think that's really the important thing about planting a tree is you don't plant a tree if you don't have some kind of hope in the future. You simply don't do that. And here in Cottonwood, we plant trees because we do have great hope in our future. And it's really important to think of in times like this too, when we are all physically distancing ourselves and folks are feeling very down because we are socially distant. It's important to have that hope. Our vision here in Cottonwood, as many of you know, is inspiring a vibrant community. We do have hope in Cottonwood, hope for the future. This day is a great representation of that. So I really appreciate everyone being here, virtually and in person, and wish you all a wonderful Arbor Day. So I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas in 1872, J. Sterling Morton proposed to the Nebraska Board of Agriculture that a special day be set aside for the planting of trees. And whereas this holiday, called Arbor Day, was first observed with the planting of more than 1 million trees in Nebraska. And whereas Arbor Day is now observed throughout the nation and the world. And whereas trees can reduce the erosion of our precious topsoil by wind and water, cut heating and cooling costs, moderate the temperature, clean the air, produce life-giving oxygen, and provide habitat for wildlife. And whereas trees are a renewable resource giving us paper, wood for our homes, fuel for our fires, and countless other wood products. And whereas trees in our city increase property values, enhance the economic vitality of business areas, and beautify our community. And whereas trees, wherever they are planted, are a source of joy and spiritual renewal. Now therefore, I, Tim Ulinsky, the mayor of the city of Cottonwood, do hereby proclaim April 24th, 2020 as Arbor Day in the city of Cottonwood and urge all citizens to celebrate Arbor Day and support efforts to protect our trees and woodlands, and urge all citizens to plant trees to gladden the heart and promote the well-being of this and future generations. Thank you all.
I mentioned that this had all started back in January, actually at the beginning of January. We found out that one of our volunteers with the Northern Arizona Climate Change Alliance was making a very generous offer of 8 trees that he had been growing that he wanted to donate to the city of Cottonwood. And that's what started us off in the very beginning. I'd like to recognize Steve Schliebs for giving us the kernel of this idea to have our Arbor Day celebration and to plant a number of trees, not only the one that we have here, but several others for the beautification of the city of Cottonwood. Steve?
Take a moment to say that I have more trees, and I'm looking for good places to donate them. So if anyone could step forward and help me with that, I would really appreciate it. Thank you. This is beautiful.
Thank you, Steve. As Mayor Alinsky mentioned, we do have with us today Randy Garrison. Randy is the Vice Chairman of the Yavapai County Board of Supervisors. We do have 2 of the trees that we're planting today that are in Garrison Park. They're on county land, and we're very fortunate that Randy can be with us today. So if you would please join us.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you all for being here, and I want to thank NASCA for allowing me to participate today. This is truly a humbling event. I told Bonnie I would keep it to 6 to 8 words, and I'm going to break that just a little bit. I wanted to share a little history and why this is a little more meaningful to me personally than maybe some of you is this land that we're standing on right now. My grandparents and my parents used to farm this all the way from Mingus Avenue, all the way past the senior center, all the way under the land that's now Verde Valley Medical Center. This was land that they farmed and used to sustain not only the family but this community. And now, look what it's become. It's a park. We have the rec center, we have the clinic, we have the pool, we have the park, and we have this nice big open space. And so, instead of sustaining our stomachs and our health and our finances, it's now sustaining our health in this way as well as our mind. We have the library here as well, and now we're going to be planting some trees to help sustain our spirit. The county is, I'm really proud to say, if you look around right there, you'll see we planted 10 trees in the last month and a half, and now by putting these 2 others here, we've made it a full dozen. So we're trying to do our part to make this a more beautiful, more sharing, more open space, and I appreciate the opportunity to be able to be here today and help. So thank you very much.
I will note also that Supervisor Garrison brought his shovel along so that he is able to help us with the planting of the other trees in this area. We had, in addition to Steve's very generous donation, we've had the opportunity to partner with the Ecoculture Restoration Center, which is based out of Northern Arizona University up in Flagstaff. They are a worldwide network that focuses on restoration projects. We've got a kind of a tiny little project here in Cottonwood today, but we are very, very fortunate to have Kevin Grady with us, and he is donating our ceremony tree, which is a mesquite. And what we really look forward to, the important thing as well as what we're doing today, is NASGA is very, very happy to bring the opportunity to the city of Cottonwood so that we've got that ongoing partnership between Kevin's group, the Ecocultural Restoration Center, and the city of Cottonwood. So without further ado, I think it's time to plant a tree.
This is honey mesquite, and this is a restoration tree. It's not exactly our nursery kind of a tree. We use this for restoration. We grow it in this 3-foot deep pot because generally we auger a hole until we hit the water table. So we're trying to reduce irrigation needs during riparian restoration. So we have about 10,000 of these growing at our greenhouse for a large Salt River restoration project where we're restoring 11 miles of the Salt River near Phoenix. And we're also growing mesquite with ASU as part of a carbon offset program that we're developing with Arizona universities. So yeah, this is part of that project, and so we're going to share this one little tree. So this tree we started from a seed.
Oh my goodness.
So this tree is about 14 months old actually. So it's not too big to get this kind of a nursery tree. Maybe it takes years. So we don't produce those kind of trees because we're not really selling for the landscape market yet. We have talked to landscape architects about doing that because this is a climate adapted tree. That this is from the same Colorado River watershed, but this tree was actually selected from a seed down near Phoenix, so it's about 5 degrees Fahrenheit warmer annual temperature there maybe, right? So this would be a little bit more drought tolerant, which also reduces our irrigation needs. So that's part of what we do too, is use these kind of local trees and slightly drought adapted trees to reduce that irrigation need. And if climate change continues the way it's been going, then maybe it'll do a little bit better. So I don't know how well the roots have developed through this pot. I've been kind of kneading it a bit. Usually after time the roots start sticking to these indentations in the pot. So we kind of work the roots off a bit just by squeezing. And actually this plant wasn't supposed to be planted maybe for another 2 months. So we'll see how well it holds together. But if for instance like a cottonwood tree or a willow tree, it's usually just full roots coming out of all these holes. And it's also thorny. So I gotta be
also have, as we're planting this mesquite tree that Kevin is providing, we thought that it would only be appropriate that we use some Verde River water to water in our tree initially as we're planting it. One of our co-sponsors for our event today is the Friends of the Verde River. Our intention had been, we had a whole lot of things planned for Earth Week for Nazca to celebrate, and in these special times in which we're operating, we've had to make changes and go virtual, and we've had to postpone some of our events. Initially, we had intended to have our Verde River water at our drum circle last night so that it would have the blessings of the drum circle before using it for planting our tree here today. So I promise after we get done with the drum circle, once we're able to congregate again, we will bring Verde River water back to our tree. I believe you got your shovel?
That's fine. I don't mind. Oh, okay. This should go pretty quick if we get well watered.
Oh, I notice we've got irrigation here that the county has provided for us.
And if it doesn't survive the summer, it's generally better to plant in the fall. Give it the full summer to develop the roots. The full winter to develop the roots. So we'll have a bigger tree then if we wanted to, depending on how it does. All right. We have a program in Flagstaff that we call Eco Kids, and last year we planted 10,000 trees in a post-fire situation with K through 12, mostly middle school kids. I think we planted about 250,000 trees altogether for part of restoring post-fire situations, and 10,000 of those were with kids. And we've been talking about maybe spreading that program here. And that's part of a global program where we actually have kids interacting with other kids in Africa and India and Indonesia and South America. So it's kind of interesting to share different cultural interactions with nature and what people are doing with restoration in different parts of the world.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin, and thank you for the excellent segue. We have prepared a time capsule to go with our tree, and kind of starting with the Eco Kids program that Kevin mentioned, we've reached out to the Cottonwood Community School. We have Matt Schumacher here with us today, and Matt is going to talk a little bit about what our plans are with our time capsule.
Thank you, Bonnie. We were approached. A couple months ago by Hezekiah and Bonnie and Beverly about this partnership, and so, as a principal of the community school here, we seized on the opportunity to partner with Nazca so that we could create additional opportunities for our children within this community. When we looked at a renaming of the school, and we reconfigured 2 years ago, we had about 40 parents in the room, and unanimously the decision was made, and nothing is unanimous anymore, as you probably know, and the decision was made to choose the name Community School to represent what our ideals were for our children going forward, an appreciation for the place that they live. And if you ask me, and especially in the current circumstances, there is no more beautiful place than in the Verde Valley than any area. There is no more beautiful place, let me say, than the Verde Valley anywhere in this world. And so to establish and create an appreciation for our children for this wonderful place where they live, where we have forests and mountains and canyons and rivers and everything within this very short period of our geographic area. It really is, for me, important to instill that appreciation for our natural surroundings with our children. And so I'm looking forward, and Kevin and Steve, certainly partnerships going forward is what I heard, and an opportunity that I would like to seize on here as we go forward. But specific to this program, what we're looking forward to doing is continuing our partnership and having our second grade population, and the mayor's got a first grader coming in next year, so maybe we'll have to think about that a little bit more, Bonnie, and expand that grade level band to include first and second graders, and look at creating a time capsule. And so what we're going to do is have the children take some time to write about their appreciation